Hi, everyone. Just a quick note before we get started. I'm shooting this the morning of December 23rd, 2022. I don't know if or when I'll actually be posting this, but if it is in the middle of the season 2 of the channel, the I Hate Fun blog read speeches, those were shot back in October, mid-October, uh, late October for some of the special effects reshoots. And yeah, it's just a note that if this is getting inserted in the middle, this is a completely separate thing. And yeah, let's get to it. Oh yeah, I'm not bothering with the teleprompter here. This is just going to be me reading a 9-page statement, which, well, the purpose of this is not to be exciting and entertaining, but to inform. And I'm doing it in this format because it'll make it that much more difficult, I think, for people to just take snippets out of context. That's naive, I know. And I'm doing this all in the first place because I want to make it that much more difficult for people to assign me motivations and for people to just say what I really think, which they're going to do anyway, but at least people who know will know what's real. Okay, so let's get started. Proud to commit commercial suicide 2022, or maybe 23, because this definitely isn't getting posted before the new year. Anyway. On December 5th, 2022, I received a suspension from Facebook because I posted a meme making fun of both Kanye West and Alex Jones. I was told I engaged in hate speech. And it was not my first time in Facebook jail. Previously, I'd been suspended for posting a still from Return of the Living Dead, where Linnea Quigley is dancing in the graveyard nude. At the same time in the same post, I'd posted pictures from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, where Leatherface is aiming his chainsaw right at a woman's crotch, and Reanimator, when David Gale's decapitated body is moving its severed conscious head to perform cunnilingus on a nude and restrained Barbara Crampton, although the nudity in this shot is non-graphic. The picture I was dinged for simply showed nudity. The pictures that were apparently A-OK were depicting imminent sexual violence. I was punished for what was clearly the least offensive item in the post. Before that, I'd posted a link to the Onion article, "Nobody was murdered because of this image," which had a graphic cartoon of Moses, Jesus, Ganesha, and Buddha engaging in an orgy. As Facebook links often do, it previewed the first image on the page, and this is a problem, apparently. Ding. Oh, and I was put in Facebook jail for this little rant. I want to murder everyone involved with the decisions to make websites automatically shuttle you off somewhere depending on your location. Websites shouldn't give a fuck where you are. They shouldn't be able to tell where you are, unquote. Somebody at Facebook took that awful personal, but, that was hyperbole, but websites shouldn't do that anyway. And for many years now, I've been unable to post links to my own Lamentations of the Flame Princess blog on Facebook, including the LOTFP Facebook page, because Facebook considers the whole blog spam. And it hit me, reinforced. The rules of social media platforms, the rules of most creative communities, for that matter, are arbitrary and make no sense to me when I look at them. Why have I been torturing myself worrying about having to navigate them when it is obvious to even the dumbest person it's simply not possible for me to do so? And I've been torturing myself. Over the past 4 years, because of my complete inability to work within my industry's consensus and how it has in turn responded, I have been in and out of the mental health system here in Finland, been on medications that have turned my brain to absolute mush, and my coping mechanisms have resulted me gaining 65 to 75 pounds, depending on where I started. I don't weigh myself all that often. And I wasn't a fit man to begin with anyway. And my physical and mental health have deteriorated to the point where some days I can't even stand up under my own power, not an exaggeration. I told the last mental health professional I saw that I'm in no danger of slitting my wrists or anything like that, but I think my body is shutting down one part at a time, and my problem with that is that it's taking too damn long. Why can't my body just hurry up so one night I just go to sleep and never wake up again? This is what I told the psychiatric nurse, what I was hoping for. That's where I am. And just imagine how fun it must be for people working with me in this situation. And yet I still behave as if I believe that all I have to do is dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge around people's rules and restrictions. If I just continue on doing the work, I'll be able to do things the way I want and need to do them creatively, and it'll turn out all right in the end. Well, it won't. It won't turn out all right in the end. I don't think it's possible for anything to be all right for me ever again. But still, when I'm able to act at all, I'm acting as if that could be. When the aforementioned mental health professional asked me what my goal was in seeking help, I told him I wanted to be like Salman Rushdie, a guy that has endured far worse for his art, by orders of many magnitudes, than I have. But in public at least, he seemed like a rock, confident in himself and accepting of the circumstances he finds himself in. That turned out well. When Rushdie was stabbed months back, I was genuinely outraged. It created great shame in me, how I've truly been a great coward compared to his example, and especially, compared to the example of all the people that have stood up for him and by his side these past 30 years. And it's time to give up on being accepted. It's time to figure out how to be okay with that. It's not going to happen. Not with the way the world is today, not with the way I am. Shit. It's a miracle that for a brief sliver of time I was accepted by a wider population of people. And I've slowly but surely been clipped further out into the margins. It started in January 2018 when I found out I was being banned from Free RPG Day because another, presumably bigger publisher who would have made noise about it, wanted me out. I'd already completed the 2018 book, and the organizers were able to negotiate my participating that year if the anonymous publisher could see and approve the book first. Which they did. I actually submitted my work before publication so an anonymous other publisher could judge it in order for me to release it. That happened. That's fucking real. But that was accepted. But after that, I was out. And, I have... this is going off script. I have my suspicions about why 2017 caused a problem that 2018 was allowed to get by. Well, actually, no, the guy's not in shot. His album's not in shot. I'm on the B's and C's here. It might have been on camera. No, not on camera, but that's what I think it is. Anyway, after this thing, I don't know why I bothered. Should have just told everyone to go fuck themselves. Later that year, me with my few thousands reach on social media was vilified for taking a picture with a dude that sells millions of books. I didn't say anything about him, didn't say that you should like him or listen to him or believe anything he says. It was just a joke picture with a celebrity I had access to, and I would have taken the same picture doing the same promo with like O.J. Simpson if I had access. And that dude killed a guy. Guy and a woman. Shit. Stay on script, Jim. And people still went nuts over that. So I don't know why I bothered after that. Honestly, I should have just told everyone to go fuck themselves. And then in 2019, when our best-selling author had allegations publicly leveled at him, I didn't leap to join the consensus to condemn him instantly. Specifically, I do remember being attacked en masse for daring to say that I needed to talk to a lawyer before making any public statement. The lawyer told me, quote, "Don't say you believe either party or you could be open to legal action," unquote. Even saying that, before the official statement of what we were going to do, I was the second hated person in all of RPGs. I don't know why I bothered after that. I should have just told everyone to go fuck themselves. At least I told some people to go fuck themselves in the official statement. That didn't do much for my business or my reputation, but I'm still happy I was able to stand up for myself even that much. Later on that year, I released the one and only Lamentations release that ever directly dealt with real life, with an adventure about how I felt being involved in all of that nonsense, and an editorial more directly addressing it all, and that resulted in such a backlash that it dramatically fucked up my physical health, and that's when I realized that the people who were doing this simply wanted me to die. Because they weren't reacting to my creativity, they were reacting to like me and my actual self. You know, that not an attack on a product, but my personhood. I should stay on script. I just repeated myself, sorry. You know, a version of the book was the target of a mass reporting campaign and banned for sale in PDF form, even though that version never even had the material that people were so pissed off about. The editorial was never in the PDF version. And even when I made a change to the title to try to ease the harassment the vendor was receiving, the response was to be laughed at by the people who were targeting me. And now I have to have everything I release on the biggest RPG sales platform vetted before it's allowed to go live. And several things have been denied or had the digital versions altered for sale before they could go live. And I always let the author decide if they want to do that. You know, I don't make that decision for them. And, you know, apparently this is because imagination is to be policed. Some opinions are just not allowed. And I don't know why I bothered after that, honestly. I should have just told everyone to go fuck themselves. But I still stand by everything I said in that book. You'll see some of those arguments a little later on, in fact. Spoilers. In the intervening years, larger RPG forums and such have started instituting bans on discussing LOTFP materials or authors. New bans go up, old ones come down in some revolving door. I've been told by people who have long time reviewed my stuff for various platforms and some of the biggest RPG forums and such, that I shouldn't send them stuff anymore because those platforms will no longer publish the reviews. That's real. Reviewers who dare touch my stuff to say, this exists and here's what it is, will sometimes, not always, depending who it is, sometimes still be on the receiving end of some shit for platforming me. I don't know why I bothered after that started happening. Honestly, I should have just told everyone to go fuck themselves. And many people have decided they don't need the heat for associating with me, and I've lost many projects midstream as people jump ship or, I've lost the reprint rights to older work. I don't know why I bothered after that started happening, honestly. I should have just told everyone to go fuck themselves. And I'm still in contact with some higher-ups and bigwigs at RPG companies. People who very much insist I shouldn't mention that they talk to me because they're afraid of their public image. In fact, that fear permeates every decision some companies make. People making sure their releases are just so, not because it's what they want to do or for what they think makes for the best product, but because they fear producing something that some weirdo will declare problematic that will put them in the public shit pile. That same shit pile I'm in. At least I never gave into this shit, altering stuff pre-publication before, oh my God, what's the public gonna think? But it did confirm my suspicions that at least in some cases, Sensitivity readers aren't hired because the creators want them, but because it's basically a protection racket against a mafia who will penalize you for giving them any name. And if that's cryptic, if I was using a professional editor for this video, which I'm not, I'd have him stick in a screenshot of Freddie DeBoer's Substack post. Please just fucking tell me what term I am allowed to use for the sweeping social and political changes you demand. And this past year, at Gen Con, a retailer told me I'd been dropped from the top 4 RPG retail distributors. I've since confirmed that the top 2 are no longer carrying me. That's where LOTFP used to make most of its month-to-month money. I'd been wondering why the numbers were so down this year. Of course, nobody told me when it happened. And I made business decisions, took out a loan to reprint the rule book because it was, the distribution warehouse didn't have any for quite some time. And I thought that's what was causing the slowdown with all the other titles because the rule book wasn't available. Good job on that, everyone. Thank you for keeping me informed so I can make decisions based on what actually is in the world. Thanks. But that's interesting because direct sales, convention sales, PDF sales, they've all settled at a certain level since 2019. All steady, enough to survive and employ people, but then retail sales go off a cliff? Now, I'm inclined to believe there's something going on that has nothing to do with the general demand of the product, just coincidentally, in that one sales sector, but maybe it's just a cumulative result of all these other problems. People didn't even tell me it happened, let alone why. So I'm just left to speculate using what I know from other conversation. So as a result of that, though, I've had to let 2 salaried people go from LOTFP. They got 6 weeks notice, and frankly, I made that move 6 months later than I should have. And this was the worst thing I've had to do in my life. Tell people with fucking families that I couldn't keep paying them, even with the meager salaries that I was able to afford. And one of them had been making more money off of LOTFP these past couple of years than I have. The people responsible for this shit, I'm sure, are very proud of that. But the business is still paying my rent, at least, for now. So it's not absolutely horrible, but I have finally had enough. So everyone, go fuck yourselves. Even though my mind and my body are failing, even though people are successfully snipping away at my market, my connections, and anything that makes me a functional human being or a functioning creator, I make the following declarations. Lamentations of the Flame Princess was founded on the idea that there are no limits to creativity. We should do things creatively nobody else would and be unafraid to experiment with both form and ideas. In particular, Lamentations of the Flame Princess was founded under the belief that the satanic panic of the 1980s was wrong, and TSR in particular was wrong to give in to the demands that their products change to serve the prevailing moral culture. And more to the point, it is wrong to do that now. LOTFP was a great success in following those beliefs. Success and the comforts that came with it, and with the responsibility to other people that I was able to take on because of that success, made me unable to successfully deal with new challenges and new controversies. I was afraid of losing what I had, and that fear made me unable to do what was right, and I've been punishing myself ever since. But the success, comfort, and so many of the other people are gone now. So what the hell? Let's get rid of the rest. I am not important. My health and my future don't mean anything to me. All that is important is the work. So even though I'm not done with my little speech here, and even though I have a lot more to say, even though nobody is going to pay any attention to anything other than this one bit if they pay attention at all, let me get it out of the way now instead of making it some big reveal at the end. I am officially and forever ending the prohibition, embargo, or avoidance of working with absolutely any individual on Earth. I have been completely ashamed of myself for having ever participated in such behavior and cannot and will not survive one day more being complicit in the atmosphere of fear, suppression, and creative exclusion. LOTFP will exist only in an atmosphere of free association and free creative collaboration. Absolutely no regard will be paid to demographic categories, ancestry, religious belief, political alignment, general popularity, or social standing. If you have a cool project, we can do it together because fuck you, that's why. One of the people I had looked this over suggested I just cut it there, but again, I don't want people assigning me motivations. So, because there is the important nagging question to all of this. The question that must first be asked. If I was using a professional editor here, I'd have them insert Michael Douglas from Falling Down asking, "I'm the bad guy?" And then David Mitchell in a Nazi uniform asking, "Are we the baddies?" Because I tell you, in the past 10 years or so, my sense of what is right and what is wrong doesn't seem to be the public consensus. Or the braying social media consensus. It is easy to forget sometimes the two are not the same thing. Half the people that I see condemned as being just the worst, I don't think are bad at all. Half the people that I do agree have done wrong, I find the punishment far outstrips the offense. But uniformly, in all of these cases, I see the would-be good guys behaving like monsters. Vicious, vindictive, bloodthirsty, petty monsters. And this behavior being portrayed as the good and right thing strikes me far worse than what they are attacking. I can't be anywhere in the internet, in any community, and that is an awful, deceitful word. If there's one good thing someone can do for the world, it's to destroy the feeling and concept of community with strangers based on shared demographics or shared interests. Anyway. But I can't be anywhere in the internet in any of these communities where so many people don't seem to care so much about the thing the community is supposedly there to do and talk about. They're there to gossip and hunt witches and accumulate, that social clout and power. Oh, did you see what Bob said this morning? Oh, look what Joey did. How do we feel about Tony right now? And you can't disagree with them, challenge them, defend their targets, or you're the new target. It's straight out of the Crucible, and the existence of even one of these people in any proximity turns interactions more explicitly into McCarthy hearings. Are you now, or have you ever been, a fan of that toxic podcaster Joe Rogan? That sort of shit. I believe these people are the worst. Yes, worse than murderers, worse than rapists, worse than thieves, worse than whatever bigot you got. In fact, I've developed for conversations involving these topics what is surely the world's worst catchphrase. Better a bigot than a censor. But isn't that ridiculous? Really? An exaggeration. Surely. Just a shorthand for go recruit for your crusade somewhere else, you fucking idiot. Surely. I hope so. But just because these people might be the worst doesn't mean I am any good for disagreeing or for calling them out. And call-out culture against individuals is pure harassment, by the way. How you judge others in no way ever makes you even a little bit good or better as a person. Just because it's the right people you're hating doesn't make you any less hate-filled. And so, even though I say I am defying these particular bad people, that doesn't stop me from being bad myself or from my reactions to them being bad. How do I know I'm not just doing another wrong thing in addition to their wrong thing? Well, I hope as a point in my favor that I'm actually asking the question. So many people seem so certain of their righteousness that their cause excuses and allows any action in pursuit of it, that their ends are so pure, that they justify any means, and that the obvious, oh, Jesus Christ, I'm starting to tear up, motherfucker. Their ends are so pure, they justify any means, and that's the obvious sign that they've gone right off the rails and are in fact behaving badly. That at least isn't me. At least I hope not. I may criticize, be angry at, even hate someone, but at no point have I tried to get anyone fired for their beliefs or actions, nor do I ever try to get anyone's book pulled from sale or would otherwise limit its access to anyone who might want it. Actually, that's not exactly true. There's one moderator on a message board that I was like asking the administrator, this is a guy that says that he's going to continue making disproven rape allegations against someone for shits and giggles, and yet they're a moderator. So I guess I was trying to get him fired from a volunteer moderator job, but I got banned for that. Anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I don't ever try to get anyone's book pulled from sale or otherwise limit its access to anyone who might want it. Even the people who have treated me the worst, I don't want them punished. I don't want anyone who would enjoy their work to have any less of their work to enjoy or even the slightest more difficulty in accessing it. I would just like to have them stop having any influence over my life. I don't trawl through who someone follows on social media. I don't keep track of who has conversations with whom. I don't message all of their followers, did you know about this person in the first place? Neither do I then judge people who don't react by themselves, shunning the heretical individual. This is just disgusting behavior with absolutely no excuse and no positive result. I remember those heady days of 2019 when people who thought I could be on their side trying desperately to convince me that I should denounce certain people in specific ways, and making the explicit argument to me that this old civilization style of social shunning is a good thing, actually. And no, it's not. It is completely monstrous. And that personal denouncing thing is awful behavior in the first place. That you'd sever a personal relationship and publicly shit all over a former friend because they made some social mess and people are ready to judge you next, that's evidence of just being the worst fucking person. It's a betrayal of the worst sort. At the very least, when I threw certain people off the bus, I made the conscious effort to not throw them under it. Just the very idea that any human being doesn't deserve friends or work or social connection, at least not without those contacts being themselves rotten. Again, I have no words in my vast vocabulary other than monstrous to describe this kind of behavior. Nobody is quite so evil as one who takes it upon themselves to enforce what they think someone else deserves. And while I may disagree, and maybe vociferously, hell, why I even may mock, I don't shove people into some sort of social bin and declare them untouchable just because they have different opinions. Not for COVID or Russia or abortion or immigration, trans issues, religion, who to vote for, any goddamn thing under the sun. Whatever hot button current topics where you must have certain opinions or you're one of the bad people. Other people's personal beliefs and expression of those beliefs, that is the right of every human being. To have their own thoughts and be able to express those thoughts. Yeah, some people's ideas are silly. Some people's ideas are dangerous. People are probably screaming at me right now because they think so about my views. But we're either a free people or we're not. I say we should be. And that means people get to say stupid, deranged, wrong, and downright despicable things without our mounting some sort of campaign against their livelihoods or their personhoods. Basically, I am all for an individual's right to commit both heresy and blasphemy, and I've said so for many years. But my definitions are not just limited to religious matters. There's no belief so sacred, so true, so correct that someone shouldn't be able to just take a big ol' shit on it. And certainly nobody should ever be compelled or forced to express a belief they don't hold. Enforced consensus is tyranny, flat out. Basically, I believe that people are responsible for themselves and their own actions. They are not responsible for those of their associates. At all. Zero. Acting as if they should be is coercive behavior, turning everyone into an informer and a spy against their own friends and colleagues, and go fuck yourself on that count. And that's the key to my argument of why I think I'm justified in my path. My behavior isn't coercive. I don't suggest you must support some artist that you find abhorrent. I don't suggest that you must agree with even my strongest held beliefs, else I'll do my best to destroy your professional and personal life and or encourage others to do the same. You're free to be you, and the most you'll get from me is frowny face criticism. These other people, they seek and exercise the power to enforce their ideas on other people and seek and exercise the power to destroy someone if they do not submit. And if there's anything to be against, it's that. Now, the fun part of all this is a great many people who have been defenestrated from the greater RPG scene have themselves engaged in this sort of witch-hunting inquisition behavior. Retards hosted by their own petards, you could say, if, that worked as well out loud as in print. But anyway, some still think they're right, that the only problem with this exercise of identifying and excluding bad actors is getting the target right, whereas I think the process and the act itself is utterly corrupt. But I don't think they deserve the treatment they get. Turnabout isn't fair play, it's hypocrisy. If it's wrong when they do it, it's wrong when it's done to them. Clearly. But more importantly, it demonstrates that the self-anointed judges of others' worthiness are often no better than those they judge. The proper way to deal with actual wrongdoing is through the courts, be it criminal or civil. They are not perfect, but there is no court so corrupt as the court of public opinion, and the more I see public accusations and the lack of any recourse from the accused, the less I take any of them seriously. It is literally the same dynamic as a witch trial, where the accusation is enough and the only proper recourse available to the accused is to confess their sins. Any attempt to defend themselves is seen as an admission of guilt, punishable by at least at this point complete social death. People accused of crimes deserve their day in actual court to face their accusers. Every time. Every time. No exceptions. To do so is not an affront or a threat or re-victimizing an accuser. It is a mundane exercise of the most basic human rights, regardless of their guilt or innocence. This is basic shit here, people. Me? I'm not a cop. I'm not a prosecutor. I'm not a judge. I'm not a jailer. And I'm certainly not an executioner. And I absolutely refuse to behave like any of these things. The way things currently are seems to require each and every person be any or all of these things to everyone around them, lest they too be considered a bad person. And just fuck off with that. Fuck off with that. But some people do put a real premium about being ever vigilant against Satan, I guess. I mean, are you going to be the one responsible for Satan influencing our godly community? It's the same dynamic. Yet there is the question, if I'm at all concerned with causing real harm, if I associate with actually bad people. I mean, I can say, oh, this person's just accused, but sometimes accusations are true. They're real. Someone is a harmful person. So, what does it mean in practical terms if I'm associating with such a bad person, like actual bad person? As far as I can figure, as far as that goes, this is the question I'm supposed to ask about everyone I work with. Does this person morally qualify to participate in the creation of fictional material while in their own home? That's it. That's when I work with someone, that's what happens. There's no office. There's no people they gather around. They work from home making up shit and then email it to me. Are they morally qualified to do that? That's what I'm apparently supposed to investigate. You cannot be serious. You cannot be serious with that shit. You can't. I don't believe you. You're not serious. Now, what this will actually look like is, how I behaved at the height of LOTFP success when all of this wasn't such a big deal is probably instructive of how I deal with such matters at a practical level. People that are on a crusade to be a bad person, they don't keep that out of their work. And so I'm not going to go, oh, yes, I'm going to. No, how everything was is how, theoretically, everything will be. Okay. As much as possible, as much as I'd like it to be. That's not going to happen, but that's the theory that I want to put into practice. But even so, there were other things that happened back in the day that didn't come out in public. Remember when I used to do open calls for submissions with various criteria about who I wanted to submit? At one point many years ago at this, by now, I was considering doing an open call for contributors with the condition I was only accepting submissions from convicted felons. Convicted felons. I was talked out of it, but that's how fed up I was even then with the puritanical bullshit in the RPG scene. Creative work is not a reward for behaving and believing in just the proper ways. When I say it's for everyone, there is no asterisk or exception as far as I'm concerned. Everyone who has something to contribute should be able to, as a distinct and separate matter from any punishment for whatever they have done wrong. And that's no matter who they are or what they've done. How someone behaves in their private life has fuck all to do with their ability to create something worthwhile. How someone behaves online has fuck all to do with their ability to create something worthwhile. They're not entitled to do this thing they want, I often see it argued, but my response is, well, you're not entitled to take it away from them. And people seem to think that talent isn't a thing. Oh, Troy's a bit of a prick, better replace him with someone more agreeable, as if people are interchangeable cogs in a content creation machine. No wonder that content on the more popular levels in every creative field, it's getting more and more gray. You cut away everyone that doesn't fit, and eventually you get the message that just perfectly fitting in and not rocking any boats is the way to have a career. That's what I think of that. Simple fact is, a book can't hurt anyone. I should have practiced one of these titles. On my shelf over there, all next to each other, are the Quran, the Bible, the Communist Manifesto, Mein Kampf, and the Malleus Maleficarum, the Witch's Hammer. All books that profess to say something about the real world and have all inspired misery for many millions of people. But somehow, I've not become a Muslim, I've not become a Christian, I've not become a communist, I've not become a Nazi, I've not become a witch hunter. Yet there they are. And they're available for sale, pretty much wherever books are sold. All of them. And in my personal library, in my record collection, and for sale everywhere you care to look, you can find quite a few things written or recorded or filmed or published by people with very bad opinions or actions to their names. rapists, murderers, racists, not to mention all the drunkards and partiers and all the lower tier misery that resulted from that behavior back in the day, or even today. But a lot of 80s metal in here. Yet, so many of those people who have done objectively bad things and harmed other people created great things that enriched the lives of many, many more people. How does one compare the value to the world of any particular artist with the harm that their personal defects and actions have caused? You may think that you know how to most properly balance those scales, but you don't. You just don't. Neither do I. I don't. We just all fumble around doing the best we can. But punishing the world as a byproduct of punishing an individual is, to me at least, fucking obscene. I can't wrap my head around the idea. And more to the point, the someone that actually has behaved badly needs to have removed from their grasp the awesome power and influence of writing game material that will reach just a few thousand people, maybe? Some people certainly have an inflated sense of what it is we do around here, that's for sure. I will always be in favor of more and more free creation. Nothing else makes any sense to me. Of course, we can list people, so many people from the past, who have both behaved badly and made great work, and contrast them to the people running around today. And the argument, I see this all the time. Well, that person's dead, so enjoying their work doesn't help them, but enjoying the work of a current bad person will enrich the bad person. And it's like, you motherfucking ghoul. Think of all the great work from the past that disappears if we held those people to current standards. But you get to enjoy it all, just for the coincidence of having been born later, but you have no problem at all stealing the same opportunities away from future people concerning current work, because some artists today do not conform to the current consensus of acceptable behavior and thought. Yes, be very proud of your very principled behavior, for fuck's sake. And of course, no matter how correct and progressive and shining and good you might think you are today, it's only a matter of time before your views too are considered ignorant, barbaric, unbelievably out of date, and some future you is wanting to consider you the worst shit for the crime of not holding to their contemporary values. It's like, okay, here's a thought experiment I've put out there before, but what if time travel is indeed possible one day and some of these historical figures pop out into our present day? You know, what if H.P. Lovecraft popped out unreformed out of the 1930s, ready to write new Yog-Sothory for game companies? Who'd let him? All these people that freely use his creations right now, knowing exactly what kind of social media chud that dude would be. How would that affect how people used any of his ideas even without his involvement? Yet, his shit's everywhere. Effectively, everyone uses it to one degree or another. So, you know, we don't even have to use an example like H.P. Lovecraft. Popping out of time from as little as 10 years ago is going to result in guaranteed problematic views from everybody. Can you imagine someone popping out from 2010 saying things perfectly acceptable in 2010? I bet you can come up with a bunch of things that would be unacceptable to say today in polite company, out loud. So good luck. Good luck, everyone, building a functional world where you constantly condemn every fucking thing that came before you. And with that, I'll also note that the largest RPG marketplace in the world puts a moral disclaimer on every single work of the creators of this industry and hobby. Great job. Good. Perfect. You're doing great. Yes, there are bad actors out there. And yes, sometimes they do real harm. But refusing to associate that with them does exactly what? Do they disappear from the internet if we shout down their publications? Do they suddenly start behaving better because they've been exiled and dehumanized? Oh, I'm sure that's what's bound to happen when you treat a person that way, right? Yeah, of course, that's, yeah, perfect. No, all that really changes for them and their negative behaviors is that the rest of us are denied whatever good they could have been allowed to put into the world. You deny the ability of a person to sit alone in a room, to draw or write for other people, and then you act like you've done a righteous thing because you're preventing that. You kill every valuable thing about a person. You murder all of the possible good, and you just dwell on and broadcast the most rotten shit. And make sure that when the name comes up, it's just the worst, the rotten. This is shit. And you pat yourself on the back doing that, thinking you're making the world a safer, more inclusive place for everyone. Great job. Great job. Of course, anyone who wants to talk to me about feeling unsafe or about inclusive communities after the few years I've had can suck my runny asshole. The nerve of some fucking people, right? But in the end, it strikes me as highly masturbatory to worry about whether I'm a good person when I'm currently not even a functional one. All I can do is what I know how to do as best I can. And I will do it until they come for me to drag me away or I fall over dead. I can accept that the weird shit that I do will be unpopular. I cannot and will not accept the idea that I should tolerate any barriers to finding whatever audience might like it. From this point forward, I will live behaving and running LOTFP according to my values and not those values of the people who want me dead or those who want me to disappear. And I will not run LOTFP according to the values of those who behave like their worthiness is tied to tearing others down. Even if, at long last, this means I end up all alone. Fuck this world and fuck everyone who's made it this way.